If you have it all except great sex, connection, fulfillment, this episode is for you. I had the degrees, the white coat, the thriving women's health clinic, perfect custom home, and still I was unfulfilled. I felt dead inside, thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I be happy? Am I depressed? Am I anxious? Am I codependent? Spoiler alert, nothing was wrong with me. The issue lied where no one was looking. Not specialists, not therapists, not functional medicine doctors. And the cost got so great that I was in the hospital every 6 weeks and no one could find answers because we were looking medically, relationally. I was breastfeeding, was it my hormones? And I'm actually just taking a minute to feel how far I've come because I am spicy right now. I just had a little flirt. I don't know what we would call it. Anyways, looking at how lost, how disconnected, how hard I had worked to get where I was, and how it was so out of alignment, and all the time, money, and effort I put in to not get anywhere, to get sicker, to not be given answers. I probably spent $200,000 trying to get to the root of what was going on. And I see it all so clearly now. It's why I created the Pleasure Path assessment. It's why I know that thousands of women that I have worked with, need these tools. You need to know these things as foundational because the women that I work with have done everything right. The therapy, the personal, the professional development, communication tools, they're on hormones. They have the best concierge doctors, more therapy, more podcasts, more book reading, and still something's missing. You're not happy. You're not fulfilled. And that is the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes per day to your health. So we can continue to not prioritize this. We can continue to pretend that everything's going to be fine. But if you are not happy, if you're not fulfilled, if you are not well fucked, it is costing you to the tune of 15 cigarettes per day. And you will end up like me or many of my clients paying for it with your health. Your body will say no eventually. So what if it's not you? What if you're not broken? But what if you were living under systems, relationship dynamics that have not been serving you? They've actually been causing you harm because you are a high achiever. And the advice that works for a normal, or like I'm calling it normal, a traditional relationship power dynamic, but less and less of those exist anyway. But what if it's not you? We're going to talk about that today. I'm Dr. Jordan Wiggins, and this is the Pleasure Principles podcast. I'm an intimacy strategist for high-functioning women, naturopathic doctor, author of The Pink Canary, and creator of the Pleasure Path. I work with women who are wildly successful in their careers, yet silently unraveling in their relationships, their bodies, and bedrooms. Here, I'm speaking to the truth that most women keep buried about desire, about burnout, about power dynamics, and what it really takes to feel feminine, fulfilled, and turned on again. Each week, I'll share research, truths, real-life tools, and the science of intimacy that is actually going to work for you and women like you, because you're not broken. You've been given the wrong script when it comes to sex, arousal, and desire. This is your initiation into pleasure-centered relationships, feminine power, and a life where success and sex finally feels good. What is Superwoman conditioning? It is the internalized pressure and belief that we have to do it all. Lead at work, hold a family together, earn through productivity, never show weakness, don't ask for help. And this explains why success has not led to satisfaction for the high-achieving women that I work with. It rewards the high-functioning, overgiving, self-sacrifice, disconnection from our feelings, from our desires, from our pussies. And it looks like being praised for resilience while you're dying inside, managing everyone else's needs, and wondering why no one is asking or caring about yours, you can't even get somebody to take out the trash for you. Sex feels like just another thing on your to-do list. So, what I'm calling Superwoman syndrome is often a trauma response. It's the emotional labor of surviving the power dynamics, the invisible ways that are turning off the pleasure centers in our brain, putting us in fight or flight. This can be at home, at work, in our own nervous systems, in our own bodies. This isn't just internalized patriarchy, it's how this coercive, controlling culture has trained high functioning women to normalize these power dynamics, normalize things that absolutely drain us, gaslight us, disconnect us from our bodies, tolerate one sided relationships in the name of success with no answers for how to fix it or what to do next. I cannot count the number of times that I have heard, I have everything. Why do I feel nothing? Why am I so numb? Why do I have no desire? Why am I so miserable? Why can't I just be grateful for all I've built? Well, I'll tell you why. Because you have been taught to play checkers when the whole system around you, when you should be playing chess. This is what I mean. We're literally given the wrong script. So I want you to hear something. Traditional systems fail women with super traits. So this is healthcare. This is therapy. This is just like gender roles and our beliefs of what relationships look like because we're playing off an old script. The energetics, the power dynamics of what a relationship used to look like in the 1950s is very different from today. So I've heard it all. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot of excuses. Okay. I'm codependent, or it's my ADHD, it's his ADHD, it's neurodiversity, it's hormone issues, it's attachment styles. We have different love languages. Okay. Yes. And I don't care because making these excuses is actually harmful for women like us. It is costing us our health. It is costing us our happiness and emotional well being. So it's literally killing us slowly. Okay. 15 cigarettes per day. And I used to give some harmful advice. When we don't look at it through this power dynamic lens, if women are unaware of this, if we're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers, it is harming us. Okay. Let's talk about this a little deeper so you can understand and you can actually start to see the problem and name the problem and give words to the problem. This is why I created the pleasure path assessment. I'm going to tell you more about that later. This is so you can stop spinning your damn wheels, stop investing time, money, energy, effort, and getting nowhere. If there was a business intervention that you did something for your business and you invested money and time and you poured effort into it and it wasn't getting better after a year, would you continue to do it? There's no chance. There's literally no chance. So why do we do it when it comes to our own relationships and intimacy? Invisible power dynamics and super traits. Okay, I've talked about this many times, but you need to hear it. This is Sandra Brown's research. Okay. The women that I work with score very high in these traits like empathy, openness, conscientiousness, loyalty, flexibility, responsibility, and our partners are usually the opposite. Okay. These super traits make us super successful in careers, great parents, but it can keep us stuck in harmful relationship dynamics and be gaslit by systems. Let me give you some examples. Healthcare. Okay. Healthcare says your hormones are off, lift more weights, you're aging. Doctors have told us for years to take a bath and have a glass of wine and then we might want to have sex. This is medical gaslighting. And there's also way more women than there are gynecologists or people that are properly trained to assess and treat women's hormones. So it's also just a system problem in general. But this is the thing. Hormones are a lag indicator. And we have hormones. We have seasons of our hormones like pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause, menopause. These are all very real and they require adequate healthcare, which women are not getting. However, they also ignore power dynamics, how much we have on our plate, especially when we show up and we present really well at our appointments. We don't get the care we need. We don't get the answers that we need most of the time because we are so damn high functioning. But what we can't ignore about healthcare is that over 1 in 4 women is on an antidepressant, and women are 4 times as likely to be prescribed antidepressants than men. I used to think that this was a pleasure problem, that our relationship to pleasure, our ability to choose ourselves, looked very different from men. But I've realized that it is even deeper than that. It doesn't anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure. It's what I wrote my first book about, The Pink Canary. It doesn't assess the emotional, the invisible labor, how safe you feel in your nervous system on this planet. Okay, the number of women that have autoimmune disease is increasing. We know that this is directly correlated to stress. Anyway, so in a nutshell, we know something's off. We go to our healthcare providers, family doctors, gynecologists, functional medicine doctors, naturopaths. And I used to think I was addressing the root, but I wasn't. So, for example, I had a patient come back last week. I hadn't seen her in years. And she wanted me to put her on the same protocol that I put her on in 2019. But I had 2 issues with that. One, she had changed, right? This is 6 years ago. Her needs had changed because and that had worked. And she basically just wanted me to like femdom her into doing it. That's why a lot of people come to me because I tell them the truth and I lovingly hold a high expectation for them to follow through, and they don't want to disappoint me. So she wanted me to be her motivator, to be her catalyst. And the issue that I had with that is 2 things. One, I looked at my protocol back then and I was like, this poor woman, like she was over functioning. And look at the stuff that I had her do or the interventions that I had her make by herself with no extra support. So we're going to get into why that is, but I totally changed it. And I said to her, we need to take some things off before we can add anything on, because you're going to start this intervention. We're going to modify your diet or change things. And I said, and you're going to stick to it for about 2 or 3 weeks and then not be able to because you're already flooded. You're already overloaded. And then you're going to come like you're going to feel like a failure. You're going to feel like something's wrong with you when really it's not. What we actually need to address is the sheer amount of shit that she has on her plate, because she will not be able to heal when her nervous system is in fight or flight. She will not be able to conjugate proper hormones when she is stressed out day after day after day and not sleeping. And what's going to come into play here is her superwoman conditioning and the power dynamics in her relationship. So we need to address those things first to even be able to get a health intervention to work. Or did you ever notice, like, why are we cold plunging? Why do we have weighted vests? Why are we doing extreme dieting and eating extreme amounts of protein? Like, why do we need to supplement so much, go to such extremes to get the results that we want to get? Tell you why, because no one is addressing the superwoman conditioning and no one is addressing these power dynamics. Again, and it's simple. People will come to me about their libido and like, oh, I think it's my hormones. And I will walk them through a very simple set of questions and have a pretty good clinical understanding that, yes, they have hormone imbalance issues that need to be addressed. I love hormone replacement therapy. Prescribing it is life changing. And I can also usually with certainty, 1 in 10 of those women, their libido, desire, connection issues are pure hormones, just 1 in 10. The rest, 9 out of 10, there's other issues that need to be addressed first. Okay, therapy. And if you did not listen to my last episode, I went into more detail on this. But we have our types of therapy, right? Our CBT, our EFT, things that focus on communication, co-regulation, attachment styles, but they miss power dynamics. And very, very few therapists are trauma informed and can call these things out. They haven't done enough of their own work. I also, as I said, would have given a protocol that was damaging, or I would have given advice about like coaching about libido and connection that was damaging until I was in an abusive relationship and needed to do the work and learn these things. Now, again, therapy is very helpful in some situations, but when you are dealing with a superwoman with super traits and a partner that is the opposite of her, it's actually damaging. And just so we're clear here, somatic experiencing, relational life therapy, like there are types of therapy that work, things that work in certain situations that I absolutely love. But I'm just talking the pure couples therapy, sex therapy that does not address power dynamics is harmful to my clients. Okay, it can pathologize the high functioning woman because we look anxious. We look like we have high expectations. Like, why can't she just be happy? While we excuse the under functioning partner. No wonder she doesn't want to have sex. No wonder she doesn't want to have sex with you. You don't want to take out the trash. You don't want to turn down your music or listen with headphones. You're snoring. You don't want to sleep in another room. Like these are literal, real examples that have happened for my clients in the past couple of weeks. So, of course, her nervous system and her pussy is closed for business. Of course. So let's talk about this, how our superwoman conditioning kills desire. And this is an us problem, but it's also a system problem. So I don't want you to blame yourself. Sex is a reward system. So the more good sex you have, the more good sex you want. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again until you believe me, your pussy knows. Our nervous systems are trying to keep us safe. So when we don't feel safe, when we don't feel supported, the pleasure centers in our brain shut off. So does our vaginas. Desire doesn't die. It just goes into hiding. And we usually hide it under layers of performance, people pleasing, trying really hard at work. I've got this. Most women don't have low libido. They just have low safety. And there's a couple reasons why this could be. And it doesn't even necessarily mean it's your relationship. We have been giving and giving and giving and trying to achieve in a system that was never meant for us to begin with. Living in high functioning freeze for years, acting strong, performing responsibility, prioritizing productivity. And like, I'm dry just saying these things, but I get it. I've been there. So when you've been performing in and out of the bedroom for years, holding it all together, the pleasure centers in your brain are off. Your nervous system cannot access arousal, desire when it's locked in overdrive. You're in your lizard brain, not the parts of your brain responsible for desire, arousal, turn on. Your body thinks it needs to stay safe. And we think the problem is us. We blame ourselves because we have super traits, remember. We're open, we're flexible, we're agreeable, we are loyal, we want to try and fix things. So, because we're like that, our partners generally expect us to be the ones that bend. And we bend and bend and bend. We pretzel ourselves until we break. Okay, we've been prescribed hormones when what we needed was an understanding of power dynamics and sovereignty, how to tell our truth, the space to figure out what we desire, to get out of our lizard brains into our body and figure that out. That's what I teach in my programs. We've been given communication tools when what we needed was to unwrap, like, communication tools will not work in a relationship whose power dynamics are off and there are deeply ingrained gender roles. Okay, we're told to try harder in systems that were never designed to nourish us. They were only designed to extract and take. Overfunctioning is the biggest intimacy killer, but no one teaches high achieving women how to flip these dynamics, how to change things, how to start receiving instead of constantly giving. And you know what the miraculous thing is? Is that once we figure these things out, once we can name them, oftentimes the overfunctioning woman, when she learns to let go and receive and turn on that pleasure centered part of her brain where she's attracting people, they want to help her. You're not caught in the nagging, same argument situation. A lot of times her partner steps up. He starts doing things without being asked because we've changed the power dynamics. We've flipped the whole relationship script. We're doing the right one now. We're doing the one that is the pleasure centered script where both people feel fulfilled, desired, turned on. There's more sex than ever. And sometimes I'm not going to lie, these power dynamics are off. And when we try to adjust them to be pleasure centered instead of imbalanced, sometimes the relationship, it can't sustain that. And I think that's why a lot of people are scared. But it also doesn't mean you have to leave. Sometimes just knowing what's off, knowing why it's off so that you can stop wasting time, energy, money, you get so much back just from that, just from having the answers and being able to name why things are off. Plus, I think with the tools that I teach, it's pretty helpful anyway, even in those situations. But listen, this is what do you do? What do you do if you have Superwoman conditioning when everything that you've tried hasn't worked? I created a tool that I wish I had when I was trapped in performative intimacy, when I was overfunctioning in my marriage for my employees, was wondering why therapy wasn't working. I could have saved years and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and who knows even what the lasting impact on my health is. Okay. You are not the problem. Your body is not the problem. The fact that no one is addressing the underlying superwoman conditioning, your super traits, and the power dynamics in your relationship that is the problem. You are not the problem. You are not broken. No one has just explained the totality of this situation for you. You're trying to fix one little thing at a time and expecting it to change the whole system. So this is why I created the pleasure path assessment, because there is a multitude of factors that over the last 11 years, I have determined are affecting the way that you are feeling. Lacking proper sexual health education. Can you name what you desire? Do you go blank? Can you ask for what you need in and out of the bedroom, especially when you're scared that your needs aren't being met? Healing begins when we stop performing and start feeling. Okay, and some therapists can help you start doing that portion. But with pleasure, we heal 4 times as fast. And in community, when you are witnessed, it is even faster. This is why I've created the pleasure path, a roadmap to erotic restoration for high functioning women. So, do you want answers? Do you finally want to know why this seems so fucking hard and so impossible and why nothing you have done has worked? Okay. And this assessment, this pleasure path assessment that I've created, this works because it names what traditional systems have ignored: power dynamics, emotional labor, the cost to you physically for being in survival mode. Okay, this is not just about sex, it is about feeling alive again, being able to connect again, being able to enjoy everything that you've built. So, this is what I want you to do. I want you to head to the show notes and book a pleasure path assessment, a live intimacy mapping session with me where you can we're going to uncover your erotic shutdown styles and a path to reconnection. Okay, this isn't just a quiz, this is answers. This is a path forward. So we can figure out what's actually killing your desire. Because we know it's not what you think, because you would have figured it out by now. We're going to look at your unique erotic shutdown pattern and give you a personalized plan to feel safe, sensually met again. I'm doing these intentionally, one-on-one, live with you, so you and I can both get the most out of this experience, because I'm building this to be an evergreen tool for women like us to use, to just have answers. Even if they want to do nothing with them, they can just know, like, is my therapy going to continue to work, or why is it not my hormones working? Well, guess what? You're going to have answers. You're going to have clarity. So if you never want to sacrifice pleasure for partnership again, head to the show notes, book the pleasure path assessment. It is live with me for a limited time only while we are still in the testing, perfecting phases of this. Because, like, let's face it, I'm still a superwoman. I still have these perfectionist tendencies, and I want to make sure that it is amazing. I want to make sure that you are getting the answers that you need about your desire and your path forward to reconnection. So head to the show notes and apply. And remember, you never have to sacrifice pleasure for partnership and connection again.